story of the Cook Strait ferries over the last 4 or 5 years has not been as nostalgic nor as wonderful. And there have been breakdowns. There have been people deciding to steer ferries, good God, straight into the Marlborough Sounds. Just, oh, let's go straight to Picton, shall we? We won't worry about going around. And then, of course, apart from the breakdowns, there have been the obsolescence of the ferry fleet. Well, we all know that the last government, and this is interesting, yesterday Chris Hipkinson, talking about how he shouldn't have perhaps been so nasty to Panapa Paul, also suggested that maybe they'd got the decision wrong to put the large ferries on that were later to be cancelled by Nicola Willis, and in actual fact sought to chivvy the blame yesterday, Chris Hipkins, to Winston Peters, who ironically yesterday, as the Minister for Rail, announced the new details for the Cook Strait ferry replacement plan, which is smaller ferries, but, well, pretty much in keeping, I think, with the size that they are currently, and a lot less infrastructure required at either end. Now, obviously, somebody who would have been keeping a firm eye on that because it's so critical to their economy is the Mayor of Marlborough, Nadine Taylor, in which, of course, both Picton and Blenheim are key components of her region, and she joins us now. Nadine, thank you so much for joining us. What was your view yesterday when you would have, I guess you would have viewed it in actual fact, Winston Peters' announcement?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Like everybody or many people across the country, I did go online to watch the announcement, and it was really a sense of relief, I think, just to have some certainty on this, because as I listened to you talking, the word that came to mind was disrupted. We've had a really disrupted planning process on this, and as part of that, the ferries are getting older, and we've seen a lot of disruption there. And I'm pretty keen to see us have this new infrastructure in place, the new ferries in place, and get a bit of certainty and a bit of safety back onto that Cook Strait.
The IREX decision that had been made by the previous government and canned by Nicola Willis, that was going to cause significant amount of upgrade at both the Wellington and the Picton end. And I guess a lot of that was going to fall ultimately upon your council or CCOs that you control?
Yeah, that's right. We're 100% owner of Port Marlborough, so it is a CCO of council. And we had voted or agreed to lend to Port Marlborough $110 million as part of our contribution to upgrading the port facilities, absolutely recognising those port facilities needed that upgrade, regardless actually of what ferries were coming in. The wharf that takes the ferries is at end of life. So we'd committed that amount of money to that work.
So despite the fact that the IREX has been replaced project with this one announced yesterday, you're still going to be lending them the 110 million?
Well, that's what we have to go back and talk to our community about. It's still on our books as a live agreement, but we need to understand the commercial aspects that are going to underpin the new agreement. Because, of course, with IREX, we'd hammered out the deal. We'd agreed to the amount that would be lended. We'd agreed to the commercial return to the port company. And we just want to make sure that all those metrics are pretty much the same, and in which case it is all go.
So who pays that money and the interest costs? The Port of Marlborough?
So we borrow through the LGFA, so we get those borrowing rates. We on lend it, to the Port of Marlborough. And of course the port then is a commercial operator. We're just the banker in this. They get the return like anybody. Yep, correct. And they get the return like anybody from the lease income. Okay. So it's just a straight in.
So just as I'm thinking about that, as you're upgrading your infrastructure in Picton, and I am an ordinary traveller, you're going to have to get that money from somewhere. So where would you get that? Just from charging the ferries and the traffic coming in? And does that then go on to the fees, presumably, of passengers and rail and road traffic?
So it's like anybody that builds some infrastructure for a transport operator, they charge those fees. And in this case, it's berthage fees. So yes, that's correct. And the same happens at the centre port end. It's a commercial deal. And it's the same with the fishing fleets or the forestry log ships that use the port. They all pay their berthage fees. That's how ports run.
So I guess this also assures the future of Picton, doesn't it? Because there were question marks, oh gosh, going back when I was a mayor 20 years ago, of putting in a new terminal at Clifford Bay, I think. There was the concept of returning to a Littleton service, which I don't think was going down so well in Picton because it would mean a lot of traffic would go straight through to Christchurch or Littleton. This would seem confirmation that your economic future, at least as a region, is going to have that sustained, I guess, attraction for quite some time.
Yeah, you're right. There has been a lot of alternate ideas put forward as to where the ferries could go. I think the 2016 earthquake that caused that big uplift down the east coast put paid to anything that might happen at Clifford Bay. It's pretty unstable down there. That earthquake would have annihilated a port at Clifford Bay. But this does cement the ferries coming into Picton for the next, we're talking for a 30-year contract with a right of renewal for 30 years beyond that. So it's a forward-looking contract. But having said that, Picton's matured and grown too. The port now has Bluebridge, of course, as an alternate operator. It has those log ships coming in. That's a big part of its business. I wouldn't like to say that it's fully dependent on Kiwi Rail. It's a very important client, but the port's diversified over time.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in your area of Marlborough too, because you've got, as you know, population growth has come to central Otago, but it's also come to that northern part of the South Island as well, the Nelson Lakes, Marlborough area too. We just know that the practical effects of that politically is that Wellington's going to lose a seat because population's moved, and it's moved in the favour of the South Island, particularly the two growth areas. Christchurch would be another one. What is it about Marlborough and the top of the North South Island that makes it so appealing? Is it simply because you've got the sunshine, you're safer, there's a better quality of life in your place than living in the bottom half of the North Island?
Yeah, I think we might hire you to be our PR person. I think you've nailed it. It is all of those things. It is that added bonus of connectivity that we're seeing now. We've got obviously Air New Zealand, we've got Sounds Air, we've got the ferries. People are realising that you can live in a place like Marlborough and easily connect elsewhere. But it is more than that. We've got a lot of growth in both aquaculture and viticulture, and they're driving a younger cohort of people to come to Marlborough, and most of them are from overseas, which is really interesting. So we've got growth in the retirement age group, but we've got growth in that younger worker age group coming into viticulture, South Americans, Europeans. It's a fascinating mix, but it's driving growth at both ends.
So what's the population of Picton, sorry, of Blenheim now? You used to be, I vaguely remember you got to almost city status, but of course they don't have city status anymore, but at 20,000, you past 20 now?
Yeah. So we're past 20, and no, you don't have city status anymore. I mean, the population of Marlborough is still quite small. We're around 52,000 in total. So we've got a lot of space to fill. We welcome more. If you're out
Listen,
there and you want lifestyle and activity,
oh, listen, it's a place I personally have looked at many occasions and admired. And you've got a decent rugby team now too that you've amalgamated with everybody else. Listen, and just on that though, yesterday I was talking to the Mayor of Tasman about, well, frankly, is there a size at which you need to be to basically reduce rates because you've still got to do things with a small population base. As you say, you've got 50,000 plus.